this is Vicki from Grammy B's Junk Journal. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today we are going to make a collage card. This is number 2 video in my collage series. The first video I did a little explaining about collage art, and I said I was going to use some of my vintage children's books off of my shelf to do some collage art. So today we are going to use Big Little Kitty, images from that book. It is a 1953 book. It has seen better days, so I do not feel bad about taking this book apart. I have already taken several pages from the book that I'm going to use for this collage project. This is a sample of what we're going to make today. It is, I have this written down here in case it might help you if you want to create your own. So the substrate is a 6x4 postcard. Now, if you've seen my first video that I put out yesterday, I talked about the substrate, and what that is the base or the foundation that you are using to create your collage. So today I'm using a 6x4 postcard. So on the back, this is the postcard front where you would put your address and write a little note, and the collage will be on the back. I purchased these from Amazon. You can get a nice big stack of them, very reasonable. And if you don't have those, not a problem. If you just have cardstock or maybe cardboard from something that came in the mail, maybe a cereal box, you can use lots of different things, and it does not have to be a 6x4. This is just what I'm using. These are the things that I have used and I'm going to use in this project. So I'm going to point to each item as I say them. So the book page is right here, and I have just taken one of my old books. This is 1957 book. I just used the pages, so I have pulled some of these off, and I'm using that for the background. Some old vintage playing cards. If you are making this along with me, you do not have to use vintage. You can use whatever you have. Maybe your children have some old playing cards that, you know, are missing some cards and they're just kind of laying around. Well, grab those, use those. That's absolutely fine. I'm using, I just pulled some from my stash. So I have that in the back. Scrap paper, I have some pieces of scrap paper. And then I also use the scrap paper. I just grabbed one of my punches, and this is the one that I used. You don't have to use this. You can use, you know, any that you want, or you don't have to use any at all. Maybe you have some stickers that you would rather use. And then my book image came from Big Little Kitty, and you could use an image from one of your books. You could use an image from a magazine, a newspaper, you know, maybe just some ephemera that you had, you know, in your stash. And then a mailing stamp, so I have that here. And then a rubber stamp image. This isn't really a rubber stamp, but it is a stamp, and I've just kind of put a couple on here. Now, you do not have to stamp, but I am trying to challenge myself to get out some of my stamps that are on my shelf that I don't use like I should. And through this series, I'm going to challenge myself to use some stamps, use some punches, use some cards that I have in my stash, use some of my books that are on my shelf. So that's what this whole project is doing, is challenging me to use what I have that I don't use very often. So anyways, this collage is all done. You don't have to use that many things. Maybe you only want to use 3 things or 4 things, but I think this is a good balance. This is what I like. So this is number 1, and I have put together several that are ready to go. Now, I do not want this video to go long, so we may only end up making 1 together, or maybe 2, but I did have my things prepped, so I am ready to go and make 4 or 5 of these cards. So I'm going to go ahead and pick out another one, and I already had my postcard. I inked up the edges with some Distress ink. Now, I like to put my Distress ink in these little photo boxes. It houses them very nicely. And also, if you have the little Distress inks, they fit really great in these photo boxes. So anyways, the Distress ink that I am using, Tim Holtz, and this is Vintage Photo. And so I have just, I'm gonna move this out of the way, sorry for the reach. Okay, so I have just inked up the outside. I tore paper from my book and I had it fit there nicely, and then I inked up the side and I glued it down. Then I went ahead, I did not use scissors. You can absolutely use scissors to fussy cut your image out of your book. I just tore it and then I inked up the edges. I was trying to do a little bit ahead of time so that, you know, I could keep this video somewhat short. Excuse me. Now today I'm using this Craft Bond glue, glue stick, and this works very well. Okay, now remember we are doing this in layers and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So, and I just took a drink and made a mess. Oh, I was trying not to cough. Sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna do this in layers. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna stop and back up. I'm trying to go quickly. So our first layer was the book page. The next layer is going to be the card. Now I went ahead and I tore the top and I tore the bottom of the card, and so that's what I'm going to do with this one. I would love to leave it whole, but I don't need to leave it whole because I'm not going to see the whole thing. So I've torn a little bit off, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of ink around the edges, just like that. And then I'm going to put some glue on it. Now, this is my little image right here. I do want my January 1957 to show, so I'm gonna kind of keep that below. And I was kind of playing around with this, and on my other video, I said, make sure you layer it up. Don't glue anything, you know, layer it up first. So I absolutely should have did that as we're doing this, but I kind of was doing it ahead of time. But I am gonna follow this. I'm gonna try to follow that because that way I don't have to really think very much. I like that. I like the layout. I have all of the pieces that, you know, it's gonna be a little bit different, but we're gonna go ahead and follow that one and see how it looks. Now this right here, I used just a scrap piece of like designer paper, cardstock. So I do like the green. The green really goes well with the leaves there. And if I put that like that, I do like that, but I also have some of this kind of rusty color. I do like that. It's very vintagey looking. I think I'm gonna stick with the green. I really like the way the green, it really pulls green from here, it pulls green from there, and all I'm going to do is just tear a little piece. I don't need a big piece because it's just gonna be kind of peeking out, like right there. So I could have even went smaller. I only want just a little bit showing, and yeah, I think that will go good right there, but I think I want a little peeking out here and just a little peeking out there. So I believe I'm going to do that. And then, now I have two different size circles. I've got the larger, the little scallop, and then the smaller circles. And let's see, I only really want to use one, maybe two at the most. But I do want to either use this size or this size. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go with these two. Now I do want to use a stamp, and I'm thinking I pulled some different color stamps, green and blue. This one is a 2-cent stamp from Canada, and it's green, and I think it's actually going to work really well if I have it poking right there. But I do want to ink it up. Now, you know, everybody has their own way of collaging. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's, to me, it's like whatever comes to me. Everybody does it a little bit different. So there are lots of different techniques and, you know, guidelines, but I tend to kind of just do my own thing, and that's what we're gonna do today. All right, I think I've got everything inked that I want to ink. I am going to go ahead and glue this down. Now I also like to use my sewing machine and stitch all the way around. I think it looks great, but I'm not for sure what I want to do with these. I don't know if I'm going to use them in my junk journals. You could definitely use them as a tag in your junk journal. You could use them as a pocket for sure, but I'm just not for sure because I'm also kind of in the mode of making greeting cards, and so I'm thinking I might end up sending some of these in the mail. So I don't want to sew around them right now, but if I end up putting them in junk journals, I probably will sew around, and I will probably add lace, and I like to add lace. I like to add buttons, but I can't do that in the mail. So I'm not going to add any of that now. However, if they end up going in my junk journals, I will just add those embellishments later. Because for this project, I want to leave everything nice and flat. Now, I have not used Mod Podge. I have not collaged and mailed. Like, I have not made one of these and mailed them. So I think what I would do is, if I want to mail them as a greeting card, I will, or like a postcard, I will probably put Mod Podge on it, and that way it will seal all of this down and it won't get torn in the mailing process. But if you were just gonna put, you know, use it as a tag or a pocket in your junk journal, you don't need to do that. It would be absolutely perfect, and you can add all kinds of other embellishments if you were gonna do that. But this is nice and flat. I think it's a nice amount of things on it. I have followed all of the things that I want to include except for my stamps. So I want to go ahead and add just a few little stamps here. Now, I am using the Distress ink for that because I just kind of want it in the background to have that vintagey look. And so I'm using the same Distress ink as I did for the edges of everything. And then I'm just gonna put that one there. I love these little stamps. They kind of look like mailing stamps. So there you go. There is number 2. And I think we have time. We'll go ahead and do another one. And let's see, which one do I, oh, these are so cute. I think I'm gonna do this little girl. She's adorable. And yeah, I'm gonna do that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the things that I need to create it. So I'm gonna use, I've got my book page, I've got my plain card, I have to choose my scrap paper, I've got my book image. So, let's see, I've used the green on both of those. How about if I use a piece of blue? And I'm gonna tear my flower here, and then I will ink that up. Okay, so we'll put the flower there. We're gonna have the image, oh, that's gonna cover that flower. So how about, you know what, I think I'm gonna skinny this up a little bit because she is taking up all of that postcard. And I wanna be able to see some of my other elements here. So I'm just gonna skinny her up. Just like that. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Then I'm gonna go ahead and ink her back up a little bit here. So I like to start with the bigger image like I had, and then, you know, tear down a little bit as you think you need it. That way I can keep as much as I can. So I like that. I just like the rose just kind of peeking out just a little bit. All right, so let's see, I'm looking at my other cards. So I have the plain card, the book page, the image. I need some of this scrap paper here. Let's see if it looks good. What do we think here? Oh, I don't really like that color. Let's see, I do have this scrap. I'm gonna tear some of this. And I just have a big box of scraps from other projects. I just throw them in, and then I grab them when I wanna make collage. So let's see. You know what? I think I like that. I'm gonna leave it that way. I think, let's see, what does it look like? No, I'm gonna flip it back around like I had it, something like this. I just need a little bit peeking out. That's all I just want, just a little bit peeking out. And then I need a stamp, and I want another red something. I've got a red here, and then I think, I don't wanna cover that up. Let's see if I do a smaller red. I was so lucky at, let's see, these stamps I got at Antique Mall in Ohio that I always go to when we go visit our daughter. And I got 2 big bags, giant bags, for so inexpensive. I was so lucky, and they will last me my lifetime. Lifetime of crafting. So always look for just old stamps. Okay, so how about like this? And I have to use a circle. Do I want a big circle or a little circle? Oh, I am sure somebody has some good ideas on this. Let's see. No, too much. All right, I'm going to ink up my green. And that's what we're gonna do. Now, you could also, I made the recommendation that you could take a picture before you disassembled it to add your glue so you didn't forget things. I will often do that, but on these little projects I just kind of wing it. And oops, and I need to ink this one up. I kind of wing it. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes they look great, and other times it's like, oh, Vicki, what were you thinking? You were in a hurry, is what you were doing. All right, we're just gonna kind of go like this. I know it's gonna be somewhere in the area that it was. All right, then we're gonna ink up the little girl. How cute is she? Goodness. Yes, I absolutely love to sew around and add lace and buttons, ribbons. That is my favorite thing to do, but I am not going to do that. And it's hard for me not to do that, but I'm thinking I want to mail some of these, so that's what we're gonna do. And I don't know, let's see. We're gonna go like this. I want to keep some of the white border around, so I'm trying not to go all the way out to the edge. And of course, when you are doing collage like this with glue sticks, your fingers are going to just be sticky, sticky, sticky. All right, so I got that stuck down. And the last thing I'm going to do on that is give it some stamp. So I'm going to put this up here. There is no rhyme or reason why I'm doing that. I am just winging it. That's one thing why I love collage, is because you can just do whatever you want. There really is no rules. Maybe some guidelines, but no hard rules. Okay, so let me get some of this mess out of here. And I want to show you the 3 that we have done today. And they are not hard. They don't take a long time. And they're adorable. Now, are they perfect? Yeah, probably not. But that's okay, because they're using the images from the books that I absolutely love, and they're getting off my shelf. They're actually being used. And there's a lot more pages that I will be working on to build my stash. Now, where am I going to keep these? Now, I have done other videos. One in particular that I'm thinking about was an organizational video where I showed, because I'm a teacher and I used these in my classroom. I'm a binder person. I love binders. And so I have been storing all of my ephemera and vintage cards and things like that in these kind of envelopes. And they have the holes, so they go right into your 3-ring binder. So that is what I'm going to do with these as well. They will be stored, because you can put a lot of things in these envelopes. They will be stored right in these envelopes just like that. I will put them in my binder, and then when I want to use them, if I'm gonna mail them to a friend or if they're gonna go into a junk journal, all I have to do is open my binder, get this out, go through them, and pick out one that I want. So I have recommended these for a long time. I've used these for years, and I get mine at Amazon, and they're, I just type in, and I don't have the exact name, but it's 3-ring binder, plastic folder sleeves, something like that. So it's a great way to store. So I will be putting out another video with some more collage ideas. We're going to use a different book. We are going to just work on these different projects, and I'm hoping that I can give you some ideas, some inspiration, some motivation to get in your stash and create some collage art yourself. So thank you for coming along with me, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.